I want to begin by explaining that science is the search for truth. It's a very processed search for truth, and there's no morality involved in it. Science is neither good nor bad, but it is a search for greater understanding. It's what people do with science that makes those people, not the science, moral or immoral. During World War II, a lot of scientific inventions contributed to the death rate. Um, about 85 million people died during World War II, and many of those deaths are connected with new scientific inventions. Atomic bombs that were dropped in Japan killed over 200,000 people. Millions of people died because of the inventions of pesticides that were used in the gas chambers. Millions more died because of chemical weapons that were used on the battlefield. People invented different types of explosions and different types of guns and different kinds of weapons, and all of those scientific inventions contributed to death. Chapter 9 begins like this. Often in the mornings, I used to go to Pietro Chiodo's workshop to see the ingenious carpenter's constructions. He lived in growing anguish and remorse, since the good un had been visiting him at night, reproving him for the tragic purpose of his inventions, and inciting him to produce mechanisms set in motion by good men, and not by an evil urge to torture. Pietro Chiodo, the inventor, is helping the bad one by creating inventions that torture and murder and kill people. That's just a fact. But we have to wonder about the inventor's morality. There would be no atomic bomb were it not for physicists like Albert Einstein. Um, so there's this kind of question about Pietro Chiodo's morality here. Now, I would say that he's an immoral man and he shouldn't make these inventions. But that's sort of a philosophical question, not a clear right and wrong one. He's not the one committing murder. The good one comes to him and makes him feel guilty for the inventions that he makes that contribute to the bad one's power and success and violence. But the good one tries to inspire him to build inventions that would do good things. But that's actually a very hard thing to do. And the good one isn't really able to give him like clear plans or a clear goal. The thing that the book doesn't really say, but you should understand, is that real goodness doesn't come from inventions. It doesn't come from the instruments of things. It comes from people's hearts. It's how you use things. I mean, you can use a car to save people's lives or to do all kinds of charity, but you could also use a car to kill people. That's sort of the point. It's not the invention itself that is bad, it's what people do with it. It's an important point. More important than anything else is what this book is really about. And this book is about human nature. Are human beings inherently good with a little bit of bad in them? Are we inherently bad? Are these two equal forces that are doing battle with each other? Calvino's not really going to answer that question for you, but by the end of the book, he is going to make the point that we're best off when we are whole and we realize that we have a divided self. Right now, the two characters, which is really just one character, remember, is divided. And in chapter 9, people are going to start disliking the good one because he's proving to be as difficult or as arduous as the bad one was. Not quite, but he's annoying. The bad Viscount sends his constables to go and murder the good Viscount. Now, the constables don't want to do that, and what they're really planning is an overthrow, a political overthrow. So they don't murder the good half of Murdardo. Instead, they tell the good half of Murdardo their plan. They're going to overthrow the bad Viscount. They're going to murder him and get rid of him so his murderous, tyrannous reign can be over. But I want you to notice what the good one does. He tells on them. He won't let them do this evil thing, even though the overthrow of the Viscount and his murder would save many, many lives. But because the good one does this, the evil Viscount murders all the people who were going to overthrow him. You see the philosophical conundrum here? What should the good one have done? Should he have murdered the evil Viscount? Or should he have left these men alone? Or should they have all imprisoned the bad half of him? The good one tries to do the good thing, but in the end, he gets a lot of people killed. I think that old Sebastiana is an important part of this chapter. She keeps blaming the good one for things that the bad one does, or she blames the bad one for things that the good one does. Either way, she's the one character who remembers that it's really all just one person, and that one person is responsible. You're responsible for your whole self, and the Viscount, both halves of them, are responsible for their whole self. That's a thing that every other character seems to have forgotten. Also notice what the good one's effect on Pratofungo is. Now remember, that's the leper colony, but the people in the leper colony were happy. They Sure, they were having lots of sex, and it was like an orgy every night, and they were playing their fun music and partying all the time. And the good one really told them and taught them not to do that anymore. But now they're all just sitting around miserable, and they're realizing that they have leprosy, and they are crying and upset all the time. But my uncle's intentions went further. He was proposing to tend not only the bodies of the lepers, but their souls too, and he was forever among them, moralizing away, putting his nose into their affairs, being scandalized, and preaching. The lepers could not endure him. Pratofungo's happy licentious days were over. With this thin figure on his one leg, black dress, ceremonious and sententious, no one could have fun without arousing public recriminations, malice, and backbiting. Even their music, by dint of being criticized as futile, lascivious, and inspired by evil sentiments, grew burdensome, and those strange instruments of theirs got covered with dust. The leper women, deprived of their revels, suddenly found themselves face to face with their disease, and they spent their evenings sobbing in despair. Of the two halves, the good un is worse than the bad un, they began to say at Pratofungo. Huguenots start hating him also. You should notice what he's doing. He keeps telling them that they should give more and more and more of what they have to the poor. He keeps spying on them, figuring out how much grain they have, and trying to find ways for them to sell it for even less money. They already felt like they were moral people, and he's trying to squeeze more out of them.